Peace. Good day. Here we are, the 20th of March, 2024 in the Gregorian calendar, just a couple days into spring. Some would have said that it was yesterday, but I like the idea of spring coming in on the budding of the trees and that sort of thing. So it's been a couple days in. And you know that time in this concrete fashion that we honor it is a little bit out of line with how our ancestors did it. They more so followed the signs, and if they couldn't see the angle of the moon at a particular time or the sun or whatever have you, in correlation with each other and the stars, and they looked at their environment. So it's been a few days now since we've seen these pretty buds on the trees. Um, I come to you tonight to share something that is on my heart as it relates to the state of the world and us moving toward a more peaceful place. I heard the comment the other day that it would be important to recognize that peace does not exist where there's not justice also. And that really touched my heart. I want to share with you something. You can call it a legal and lawful notice. And I'm expressing a trust. This is verbal that I'm expressing it. I commit to following up on it in written form. However, I do have challenges when it comes to the attacks on my physical person, whereas sometimes it's difficult for me to follow through on the things that I say I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do it. And unless you've been in that situation, that might be kind of hard to understand because I didn't understand until I explained it myself. I encourage you to check out the website Targeted Justice. Okay. So the trust that needs, well, the trust that I'm expressing now verbally, and it will be followed through on. And someone can do their own version of this trust, right? You don't have to wait for me to do it. If you are an original American, you can do this too. In fact, to be honest with you, you don't have to be, because whoever creates the trust is not necessarily the grantor of the trust. Okay, so when I understand the concept of trust, I know that there can be four positions, not just three. The creator is one position. Okay, the grantor, the trustee, and the beneficiary, and they may be called by different names, maybe the settlor instead of the grantor or what have you. But I understand this better when I think about it with the four as creator and then the grantor. So I'll say the creator of this trust is the Most High, using me, kei'yah. I've already made a declaration about expatriating to the land and my understanding about the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People as written and declared by the United Nations and as declared by the Organization of American States. And I accept that, and I call it the law of the land that is to be implemented. The only change that I have is that the rights don't just go to the soil, but they go to subsoil as well. And our rights on our ancestral lands and claiming allodial title, claiming allodial title and accepting the offer that was put out by the Pope on March 30th of 2023. I'm accepting, and I know that there were other women who are going to come together with other men to claim the land, knowing that the cornerstone is the women. And we accept this is going to be, at least I know this is the second time that I'm making a statement. I decided to remove the other notice that I put out into the record. So you might consider it the first. However, Mama Rare Bird and some other women joined in making a statement as to who they were and accepting their birthright. And so I encourage all women over this next 10 days to make a statement for 3 days with by the 27th of March. So this is, you can consider this one declaration. I plan to make another declaration very similar in nature on Thursday. Well, I prefer to call it the 21st of March, and then the 22nd of March. Dorothy clicked her heels 3 times, did she not? So, although our custom as Indigenous people might be to speak once, and I think we're coming out of a matrix, and I think it's okay to speak in the language that people understand without giving jurisdiction. Okay, I do not give jurisdiction just because I do recognize your custom, I recognize your religious practices, but they do not have dominion over me, at least not with my permission. Not with my permission. Our permission. So this trust must go to the United Nations Trusteeship Council. Okay. And the grantors would be the matriarchy in North America, the cornerstone of the economy. The trustees would be the attorneys. They have been the trustees, but they've been putting the beneficiaries into the trustee position. But I know that you're capable. Okay. I know that you are intelligent enough. And so there would be different oversight. And let me continue on and explain the concept that I have, because it's really important to know as this shift takes place, no one has to go on the ground. No one's going to be physically kissing anybody's feet. No one has to go back to wherever their homelands are, and we're working in good order. These are religious constructs that must be put away. They've been put in place to keep us separate. Okay, they are obsolete. We have to walk in truth. Okay, the trust keepers will be elected. At the corporate states, there will be trusts put on the civil record, on the civic court record, and that will affect the restoration of the republic in the form of the people coming together to guide the officials who have already been voted or elected into their various offices. See, no one has to go anywhere. And I just want to speak on the action in Arizona. And I thought that that was beautiful on how the women explained the concept of land and the estates being on the land, and that the estates turned into these states and into corporate fictions. And so, with that said, with every um, intervention, with every action that is taken, we always, as we're rebuilding, we always want to go to the beginning of the story. We want to go to who we are, who our ancestors are, who we are in relationship to the land. So I am original indigenous woman. As far as I know, my ancestors were the first in time heirs to the land. So my grandmother's grandmother was from the land that we know as Georgia. Okay. And then on my mother's father's side, that's what I know as well. But we are looking at the heirship, the maternal lineage. So as far as I know, my grandmother, who was born 1913, on the lands now known as Georgia, did not have was not initially given a birth certificate when she first came into the world. All right. So I have not gone back to trace the records, but she told me who her grandmother was, and I have no reason to think she was lying. So, and then you could just look at her and see her features and see her customs and her habits and know the truth. The truth shall set you free. So, with those who have an understanding of estate law and law as it relates to land, whenever we say we're indigenous to somewhere, we want to say where we are indigenous to. Okay, we want to be really clear where we're indigenous to, because what we don't want to do is claim someone else's estate rights. Okay, you would be disinheriting. Well, I shouldn't say disinheriting, but it. Okay, I'm gonna just say it in my culture. I don't want to offend anybody in their practices or religion or whatever, but in my culture, that's called theft. Okay, it's called theft to say that you have rights in an estate that you don't have rights to in estate law. Okay, so these estates were created in the 1500s, and it has to do with title, and they pass on from beneficiary to beneficiary, and then it's like a family type of estate is how they're described, right? Now, my people did not sell land. We didn't sell land. In fact, when colonizers first came here and they wanted to buy the land, they thought it was ridiculous. Land is not sold, okay? It's kind of like selling air. Yes, you can buy an oxygen tank, but it's kind of like everyone trying to get a security interest in air, right? It's the same thing with land. And actually, it's the same thing if you think about water, because yes, people can treat water, bottle water, and sell water, okay? But if everyone tried to get a security interest in H2O or H3O, I think that's structured water. I'm not sure, but I know there's more than one form of water. Of course, we have ice, we have gas, we have drinking water, what's in the ocean, whatever. But there's also structured water. Okay, so it's like someone saying, I know you have water over there, and I see you drinking it, and I'm gonna tax you on that. Okay, or you caught some rainwater and someone taxed you on some rainwater. That's equivalent to the idea of selling land. Okay, different from the estate concept, the estate legal concept. Okay, So when people say that this is our land, we have to take our land. Well, I guess technically everyone could say that wherever they lay their foot, or they lay their head or put their foot, they could say, this is my land and I'm going to take it. But we have to be honest. You're not talking about undeveloped land. You're talking about land that, based on its existence, contribute to the estates. So really, we want to be real truthful in this season and recognize we're actually talking about the estates. And the estates are dependent upon the people and the land. And the first in line are the people of that land. And speaking of trusts, why I mentioned this trust at the United Nations, because there is an Afro-American Development Trust from 19, I believe, I think it's 1940, it's either 1946 or 1948. Please pardon me that I don't have that written down. It is the Afro-American Development Trust. So, as much as it may be a private trust, because trusts are created to bring assets out of the public and into the private. That's one way that trusts can be used. These are legal concepts that very much have something to do with how we live our lives. So we just want to be real clear on that so that we walk in truth and in light and in justice, because where there's lacking truth, there cannot be justice. And where there is no truth, there cannot be true peace. Docility is not the same thing as peace. And I think we all we all are looking for peace. Okay. Now, as far as the trust keepers, my concept is that there will be predominantly women who have the skill set, as demonstrated, whether it be successfully raising families or maybe a professional history, evidence of um, organizing and planning and strategically making decisions. So my learning as a case manager, as a social worker, as a scrum master, these things, like training of itself, that's nothing. But when you have demonstrated your ability to and your experience in fixing systems in a short amount of time using evidence-based practices, that's something that is like golden. All right. And it's not the matriarchy only doing things, it's the matriarchy maximizing the gifts of people from all backgrounds to right the ship. And let me continue on and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay. So the purpose of the trust is to redeem people and peacefully shift the economy in the right direction. Yes, the debt is big, and if there are no changes, it'll either just keep getting bigger or someone will be tempted to off the people to cash in on the securities. And that is just a low level solution to a problem that can, I don't want to say uh, easily be solved, but it can be solved with much less pain than what was inflicted or what some inflicted upon others to get it to this state. Okay. So I'm going to mention alphabet agencies and I'm going to say it with respect to the people who work in the various positions. Okay. And I'm going to say what has to be said because there have been congressional hearings. There have been talks about this. It's not like I'm saying something that has not been thought by other people per se, or maybe it hasn't been because I'm very solution focused. All right. So, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, it has been said that it should be disbanded. Okay. I'm not saying that. I don't have reason to think it's disbanded. I think that it needs to be revenued. The energies of the people who are in the positions there must be revenued. And let me just give a few um, ideas that I have. So I recommend that all salaries, just like the other federal government positions, I'm not sure that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, it has all the rights and protections of the other federal agencies, but it must have the rights, protections, and responsibilities. The people must have the responsibilities in their various roles, right? So part of what happens when one is a federal government employee is that their salary is posted. Their salary is posted. And in these positions where someone will call from the community and make a complaint about someone, the one who is making the decision, they must be receiving a compensation that is not dependent on taking new people in this program. Because what is happening is the things that are being perpetrated upon people are against international law. So we just want to start at the beginning of the chain. And when people's salaries are made public and you make adequate amount of money, so hence why you need a raise. You need a raise because you need to steadily get a salary that is comfortable for you and make you less open, less susceptible to being compromised by other offers that will increase your income. So the other piece is using an evidence-based practice, using an evidence-based practice and having the help of other social workers from other fields such as healthcare. There are professionals who specialize in investigating the risk of people committing harm, doing harm to someone else. They're called risk assessments. They're called risk assessments, and you need to be able to figure it out in 30 days, not 30 years. No, 30 days. If someone is a threat to security, then they are to be brought in and there should be a due process with the evidence that has already been collected on what they did that makes them suspicious. They must be interviewed. They must know that they are under an investigation process. Why do I say these things? Because there's some things that will need to shift immediately as it relates to the pendulum and the finances. But I do not have a PhD in economics. I do not have a PhD in finance. So I will not pretend like I know the financial piece fully. I do know more about finances than the average. I do. So I don't want to sit here and pretend like I have not thought about this or I don't know. But I know that whatever actions take place, the economy needs to stay in place. Why? People need food, people need shelter. And so, for the economy to crash or there be some type of catastrophe, then people would not get these things. And there are some who didn't for us to wake up, the cornerstones. They didn't plan for that, but here we are. So I want to ease your mind about it because I am not saying anything like, you know, some of the things I've heard, you got to go home and all these other kind of things. These are not loving and supportive things. And that is the energy that is with us now, is love. That's the vibration that's coming upon us. And April 8th is going to be another eclipse. And those who are open to the healing and to the love and to the energy, let them receive it, I say, in the name of the Great Spirit. So, what's been happening? See, a lot of these things are becoming aware to us because we have the World Wide Web, aka the internet. And the things that were done in the dark are coming to light. So, yes, 50 years ago plus, there was Tuskegee. But now there's the non consensual test program where there are companies who use the local fusion centers and the local agencies to psychologically and physically torture people, to test their weapons, to do medical experiments. They use the weapons, the energy weapons, sicken people, and then get them into the hospital and try to put them on the psych ward. Or we are not always, there are several things that will end because it's time. And they don't end on their own. They end with real live flesh and blood people who were not acting in a way that was in line with the needs of the people. Those people will repent. And repent doesn't mean say I'm sorry. Repent means you'll change, you'll grow. You have the opportunity to probably make more money doing right where you weren't making money before. Now maybe you can accept lawful tender, lawful, um, yes, lawful monies that are not based on a fluctuating standard, the floating standard. Now, this is something um, that is in public law. Well, where in public law would that be? Right? It would be in Deuteronomy because the Bible is public law. And it talks about meets and measures, using meets and measures that don't fluctuate, that is fair, that is even. Okay. So, again, there are people with PhDs in economics who can be schooled in finance because I'm not certain that everyone who's skilled with a PhD in economy and economics rather, that they necessarily are aware of what the finance markets really are in this country. Because a lot of times when we have formal education, we're directed toward the things that we need to know in order to perform a specific job very well. And it may not be everything that we would want to know in order to have like a well functioning high society. All right. The point of what I'm saying is not to make anyone feel ashamed. No one has to feel ashamed or to feel alone or to try to make themselves like feel better about themselves by claiming some type of guilt. Oh, I feel so guilty. No, that's not healthy. For a short time, it's okay to have a little shame or guilt because it'll just tilt your behavior in the right direction. But after you're on a path to be on the right direction, guilt and shame is a useless waste of energy that draws everybody down. So, the people who have hated on the indigenous people and mischaracterized the indigenous for so long, they don't have to remain in the pattern of oppressing. What I'm saying is not anything that would have people do anything other than change and live truthfully, right? And the way I say it is, let's dust ourselves off, do a wusa, and think, speak, and move correctly. Now, Dr. James Gordon, he's a psychiatrist out of Georgetown University, extremely talented man. He has some free exercises online. The soft belly breathing is one of them. But there are so many more exercises. Some people like passive meditation, breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. It calms them. Some people like active meditation. If you have a lot of anger in your heart, this is something that you want to do. You want to be active. And there's tantric breathing. There are different types of breathing and energizing methods that help you push out the hatred and the fear that's stored in your cells. You need to release them. Go punch on a punching bag. It could be any number of things, but they must go. They must go. You will hurt yourself with the new energy coming in, holding on to low level feelings and thinking that to oppress others would make you feel better about your energy or make you feel better in general. This is incorrect thought. This is based in religious ideology. Okay, we want to come away from the ideologies that separated us. We want to come into truth. People, we need each other. The law of the land at United States of America is the law of peace. That is the law. That is the great law. The original indigenous people will be restored with their inheritance. Excuse me. The economy, the world economy, the United States of America, the United States economy, the state of states, the republics, the people who are at the republics, everything and one will flourish economically, and the neighborhoods we live in will be safe, right? The neighborhoods that we live in will be safe. Safety first. No one, well, first of all, safety. I think there was a call, must have been a call on the land to reduce the sale of these foods that sicken people. I think that might be the case because this is the longest I've ever seen them taking to remodel any chain. So I'm like, what is going on with this? With any chain fast food restaurant, which I don't eat, partake of myself, but it excess sugar causes people not to think clearly. It causes many of the illnesses, and we know that as professionals. So that's not peaceful to be offering things that are harmful to some just because they have the taste for it. And from what I'm learning and from what I'm understanding, coming out of this declaration on the people being in a state of infancy and what have you, there's so much degradation done to our community. This is not something that people are just going to wake up from right away. It takes time, just like a child comes out of a mother's womb. You don't put on the child the responsibility of an 18-year-old as soon as they come out the womb. So as soon as we are now waking up, it's not appropriate to just put on the weight of the world as we're still being treated as if we're dead in law. In many ways, financially, with the foreclosures, with the non-consensual targeting, with what else? With the career pieces, there are a lot of people of all skin colors, men, women, with they have charges against their professional license. Let's say for healthcare, 22% of the economy, and it's not based in truth. Some people will pay the fines, and they're part of the fraud when they do that. But let me just mention too that it's not told to the people about the choice of working in the private and in the public, right? So there will need to be contracts in place where people can work in their private capacity and still uphold the standards that the public needs to have upheld. We can hold each one responsible. And if someone paid a license fee, let it be known that they can recoup the license fee. See, so the currency and flow does not have to be based in fraud. And then that way you keep the debt from being deeper and deeper. And we work back toward putting the funds on a proper standard. I know I can't be the only one who noticed that DT's sneakers were gold. I'm not the only one who knows they were gold and maybe a red bottom too. Wake up. Wake up. And I am fully aware that the women and people as a whole, it's Yasharala first. It's not Yasharala only. When I say Yasharala, I mean the Niji. It's not us only. It's just us first. And then everyone else. And without the truth, none will have peace. And to knock the people off is not how you get there. Excuse me, my eyes just got dry. Okay. No one is going to be connected to AI any more than what they're already connected to AI. Injecting poisons into people's bodies. And no, I think that this might come from a fear response. What we have is Babylon coming to an end, but it comes to an end. It doesn't get like worse than this. There's so many things to do in the world. So many things. It's my observation as maybe my circles are small, but fewer, or say lesser and lesser, less and less people. Now, before I make this statement, if you're older and you're not ready for revolutionary change, I invite you to end this, because it is not my desire to disturb someone who is at peace with their maker or concept of God or whatever have you. This isn't for you. I do not come to try to change or convince anybody of anything, but I'm just saying that very few people think that there is going to be event in the heavens for someone to come save them. Now, a lot of people know that if something catastrophic happens, it would be at the hand of man, because we're expecting peace. And we know that the heavens are calling for peace. Why I mention this is because we are calling for peace, expecting for peace, inviting peace, but yet I see the roads coming apart. I don't know if it's the vibration from the EMFs or what it is. I see the holes in the buildings, meaning this is not acceptable to destroy anyone else's birthright. And I don't believe that people who are the heirs are working to degrade our own birthright intentionally. Many just don't know that the buildings or roads, the lounges, our bodies are our own birthright, and they don't recognize that we're under occupation. But I say this, we're already experiencing a shift in energy. I am. I am. Again, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, she clicked her heels 3 times. So this is, consider this my one of three. Consider this my one of three. And I am fully aware of Mama Rhea Bird and several others. I encourage you to to do this again. You've done it once, do it 2 more times. Write the Attorney General at whatever state you are at. Mama Rhea Bird talked about the book, The 0%, in it. It talks about filing a UCC claim and other things like that. I'm in the process of doing that myself, but I think the declaration is important. By the 22nd, I'll come with the date and a link and an opportunity for us to come together in some way. I would like to know that this could happen as far as making a declaration together, because with Mama Ripper, we didn't really make one together. She made one, and then there were some people who were able to get on the Zoom, but some people weren't able to get on the Zoom. So I think it should be done in a way where everyone can be seen. They have conferences like that a lot where people are seen, and it needs to be at least 300. Okay. And it'll be an archivable record. And some people will move into the positions of leadership and helping to perfect what is here in North America. We're into building, not destroying. We're into building and not destroying. And we have our own heritage and spiritual way of knowing things. And it's outside of the corporate people follow other constructs that we've been living in a state of Babylon. Okay. With that said, the calendars will need to change, whereas the new moon, and when I say change, let me take that back. The calendar, there will be a lunar calendar added to the solar calendar. And daylight savings time caused chaos in the world. We are out of line with other cultures to switch twice a year. And it's not healthy. When you spring forward, you lose an hour of sleep, and there are many health consequences to that. So we just want to come into order. We want to come into order. We want to come into a righteous calendar and not have arguments about what day is a holy day, because if one pays attention, you'll notice that most people celebrate the heavens in just a different way. It's celebrating at the same time. So there's no room to criticize someone else about how they celebrate. In many cultures, the Abrahamic religions anyway, they intermarry and they get along quite fine. But in the US, there's been strong indoctrination to keep the denominations separate. All right. I will put forth a writ quo warranto, and the judgment at this time is not it's not a monetary judgment. The judgment is to tell the truth. The judgment is to tell people how to accept their inheritance and how to come into honor, and also explain the history of what was done in 1844. Explain the history. Okay, that's equity because it's truth. Now is the time to ask yourself, what will you do to set yourself and someone else in this life free? What will you do to set yourself and to set other people free? Knowing how I'm setting myself free, not only commercially, but physically, setting myself free from this system that's part of what I'm setting myself free. I'm setting other people free too by asking you to think with your higher, better self and come out of your fear vibration, because fear causes hate, and that season is over. It's over, and there's no place for shame. Okay, so whatever concept you have about the matriarchy waking up or not waking up, I'm saying we're waking up right now and we're still here. And if you are in friends with, correlation with, if you have any unions with people who are looking to destroy our estate, if you are in your right mind and you are strong enough and you don't, or you feel you have a voice, you have a responsibility to question your beliefs. Okay, question the beliefs of being afraid. It is what you make it be. It could be really bad or it can be really great. We could be on the horizon of a utopia. I'll share some goals for myself again. So, um, to improve the health of myself and my loved one. We live in communities where other people are suffering from the environmental toxins in the atmosphere. So our sustenance, I mean everyone, our sustenance needs to come from doing good. We'll make more money, period. We'll have more of what we need to get along by doing good. I'm putting on the record who I am. I'm original indigenous to this land called Turtle Island, United States of North America. And I encourage all original indigenous women, wherever you're original indigenous to, put that on the record. Are you from, are you Dominican? Or see, a nationality is important, but I'm not a nationalist. But we must know we're a people first, and we can use these terms to identify what lands that we are original to, and start reaching out and helping other people who um, the poverty is uh, unspeakable. All right. So you cannot, I'm not going to go to someone else's land and then claim a birthright in someone else's land. My birthright is here at North America. And though there are people who are here and they're welcomed to be here, it would not be truthful to say that your birthright is here. You can say your energies are here and you have invested in this land and you have a business to show for it or whatever have you. You know that you can pay taxes and then recoup taxes. What's the problem? You know. So we have to learn how to do it. That's the problem. We're not told that. And then I'll get into some other things in just a little bit here. What we're experiencing here in North America is a drift. Of course, it's on top of trauma, but many of the systems, it's in writing what needs to happen, but people do not value what is in writing anymore. Um, the people who are in management positions, they need to have feedback on what is happening at the local level, and that the success, the customer service, this needs to be rewarded. I've gone to the post office in the neighborhood where I stay several times. Some people are so sweet. They're just very kind, loving. But then there are others. I'm amazed that they're able to show up the way they are. I show them in the manual, here's what I need. Can you help me? And they said, that's not the policy. well, I brought the manual the second day. The first day I didn't bring the manual. They told me it wasn't the policy because that's not what their supervisor told them. The policy isn't what your supervisor told you. The policy is what's in writing. So we need to give support to people who find themselves in situations where there's a drift from the structure that was originally set up. And we need to make it so that they're bonused significantly. And I say the first 13 people at any setting that point out compliance matters, that they be bonus significantly. And as long as they continue to contribute in that position, that none of the bonus will be asked back of them, because I'm thinking significant bonuses, but not in a debt-based system, right? From their own estate. They can claim from their own estate. We have to learn how to do this. Okay, everyone must be themselves. Like I said, don't say you are from somewhere that you are not. Okay? We don't want to do that. We want to be honest. We want to coexist and respect each other. And people who coming here on passports and visas, okay, this is not necessarily you coming over here lawfully as a traveler. If you're competent in law and know how to navigate the various jurisdictions, then you're coming over here as a traveler. But if you don't know how to do that through your study and time like that, then you're coming over here as a citizen of some other jurisdiction. And there must be support given to the leaders in the neighboring jurisdiction to be able to provide the citizens with what they need until they're able to move into being nationals or showing up as people. But right now, there are people who are coming over as citizens and taking the resources from people who are here as citizens, people who are in need of protection, as government is supposed to protect the people, not pillage the people. Government is to protect the people and to provide services that cannot be provided for individually, like roads and even schools. I recommend that we come into a system of learning that is more in line with the natural body. We look at countries and on continents where they develop happy people who know a lot, who are smart. All right. And it's not necessarily through homeschooling, even though homeschooling is something that is available to people. But if you want a mother who maybe did not get the education that she deserved to homeschool, be great at it, if she doesn't want to do that, there's nothing wrong with schools. There's nothing wrong with organized schools. However, it does need to be a curriculum that is in line with order and high performance, not in line with preparing people to be detained. Okay, so the governors at the various corporate states, the chief magistrates, the Secretaries of State, we need you. We need you. We just need you to operate amongst the living. Okay? We need you to operate in truth, which is different than operating in legal facts. And therefore, it will be a shift because have worked in settings where people have proceedings. I'm not going to say what type of proceeding it is, but the proceeding, this particular one, and has to do with parental rights. Like no one ever, no parent ever is triumphant at that stage. The proceeding is in line with due process. But if the attorney was honest and truthful with their client, they would say, no one ever wins this stage because by the time we get here, the all the information has been presented by multiple people have given witness to their testimony and their affidavits, and there's nothing that could be done to go against the affidavit of a skilled, trained person who's making a recommendation. And so, if the parent wants to go through that step, they can, but it's really a waste of everyone's time, in my opinion, as evidenced by no parent ever wins at that stage. So why question? Okay. And it's not, that's just how it is. It's due process. So they have the right to the proceeding. However, it's not sensible. So there needs to be truth when telling people what's going on. Because now you're wasting the time of the professional going to testify. You get the parents' hopes up that something's going to change, and the professional's going to all of a sudden unlearn what they learned over the course of their career or something, right? So we just want to be honest here because look at the budget. The budget is everybody's fault. Like the deficit, that's everybody, except for if you're a child. And some of us, yes, we're treated as infants in law, but hopefully we can speak truth here so that we can right the ship again. Now, the reason too why we need magistrates, but magistrates don't need a bar card to be in their role. In fact, we must come into compliance with the law because lawfully they are not supposed to have that bar card. And they also must be compensated in a way where their activities are not um, a contributing factor to what their income is. It clouds their decisions. It clouds their decisions to get any type of kickbacks or anything like that. And I know that that does happen. There have been, and I know that it's rare. I know it's rare, but the fact that it would ever happen that a magistrate would get a financial reward for detaining a child, that's not acceptable because that person just is not put in a fair position where they'd be able to judge on only the facts in front of them. We also need magistrates because there are people who are being detained as trustees to estates in which they are beneficiaries. And these people, in an organized, in a peaceful way, they must be set free. So, unless the people are in there for harming someone intentionally, these are situations we really want to consider doing what is in the law. Everything I'm saying is in the law. I'm not making up anything. I'm maybe contributing my understanding of healthcare law with some legal processes going on in the courtroom. So maybe that's why it sounds a little bit different, but it's in the law and it's based in principles that you can repeat over and over that are sustainable for a community. Now, another thing that's happening is the guardianship status, the wardship status of someone who is in need of help or assistance cannot be used as a source of income for the states. No. And I don't blame the bankers for this. I don't blame the bankers. We can't blame the bankers because if all healthcare professionals, right, did what was in their guidelines, especially, well, I can't say especially anything because in some facilities, not in line with the federal standard for these facilities, you have medical doctors running certain teams. The teams are supposed to be run by social workers. What are some of the reasons why some of these teams are not run by social workers? Particularly, I'm talking about behavioral health and substance abuse. Why? I don't know. If you're doing experiments on people, I guess you cannot have the team be run by the social worker because the social worker is trained to not accept that. Okay. That's one reason why the social worker cannot run the team. Other than that, it's in the guidelines, evidence-based practice, that the social workers run the team because a psychiatrist does not have time to facilitate running the team if their goal is to get people on the right medications. That is the goal of a psychiatrist in the inpatient setting, is to stabilize, make sure that their behavior is stabilized through medication. That's the psychiatrist's goal. Other people have different roles to make their experience a productive one. So we're not blaming the bankers. If anything, I say we should blame ourselves um, as a society because the dysfunction that we're experiencing could not be so prevalent um, if it was only like the few bankers just putting things upon us. Part of it is that we accept things. We accept different situations that are not in line with a sustainable, principled society. But because we don't read various religious books, we only read the ones that we are presented with as children. We don't read and know the standards when it comes to financial standards across the various religions. Okay. Many of us, we're comfortable with waiting for a savior to alleviate the world of its problems, not realizing that you, that me, are part of the problem. Too many people accept beliefs that could be confirmed or denied within just a few days. But because we don't come as children with an open mind, with an open heart, we support a system where we put and keep ourselves in bondage. In the word belief, in the middle of the word is the word lie, BELIEF. So now is the time to elevate our language. Maybe to say, it is my hypothesis, or it is my thought that XYZ. See, then we're able to then point out to someone, or maybe to our own selves, hey, this is my hypothesis, and it is evidenced by XYZ event, something that actually happened, something that you actually observed. And this is how we learn how to come into right thinking. Okay. If everyone, if everyone would hold their belief up to what is true, because the truth is to be known. The truth is to be known. Not beliefs are to be known. The truth is to be known, and the truth shall set you free. So if everyone did if we came awake to what is true, it would be very beautiful. It would be a beautiful thing. We might have to adjust to it, but it would still be beautiful. Now, about the economy. Some people say silver and gold. Some people say cashless. Now, from reading Deuteronomy, which is public law, I think it's public law 94 something or another. Look it up, the Bible as public law. So, and you will see the necessity to have a standard, not a floating rate note. Now, I'm not promoting just the floating rate note go away, because there is order to it, but there must be standards and checks and balances. Someone cannot be put into guardianship just because the banker feels pressure to meet a guideline where now the numbers are a little bit not what they like. So now they call to have someone from one state where they're flourishing in Florida, where it's warm and there's beaches and there's sand and there's good eating and there's love, to go to a cold environment where just because they're recovering from their addiction, they want a little bit and they think they can manipulate into getting it. See, that's an addiction. You don't think straight. So you pulled someone out of a safe position, a safe environment, into a dangerous, sheltered, not minimal, not least restrictive environment at all. Obviously, it wasn't least restrictive because somebody was healthy in Florida. So it cannot be pressure on the bankers to make prize of the customers who are not banking in their proper capacity. They need assistance. And the point I'm making here is that when we do things right, when we do things in truth, then the rest will work itself out, whether it's gold or silver or nothing. You see, that is the product of doing things in truth and doing things right. So this is my expressing the trust verbally. And I will write this up and I'll share it with a few people, and those people will share it. And I hope that we will come together by the 27th. This just is one of many, because each state needs to have a trust on their record. And the Pope has offered the lands back the in the form of the estates, right? Never had the lands, but in the form of the estates. These patents, these patents, we need the assistance of people who are well trained and well studied in economy. We don't have to guess. We have to be careful. We want to be careful so that we don't have to be sorry. We want to be careful so that we don't have to be sorry. Measure twice, cut once. Those are someone else's estates and allonges that are being manipulated. So let's live love. Let's live fearlessly. Let's live righteously. Let's keep what's good. Let's keep what's good and eliminate the bad. We don't start over from scratch and hurt people and destroy things and not fully take out the unintended consequences. Don't measure them. That's not healthy. So, what we want to do is when we consider doing something, we want to play it all the way through whatever we think something could be. Let it all play out. Let it all play out. April 8th, then the next eclipse, and then the next energy. Uh, let it all play out. People who want to be free, they just want to be free. They want to be treated with respect. Look at the firefighters after 9/11. It was bad enough just losing people. And then the sadness and the the fallout from what happened to shift resources around. And these things that I'm saying are thoughts that are commonly expressed. You see, I'm not telling some secret. The energy is different. So I invite everyone to be their best selves and to assist in the restoration of the original indigenous woman, the matriarchy, who it's not her way or the highway. We need balance. Ma'at is balance. And that's what we seek. And that's what we stand up for. Peace.